Good evening, everyone. I think everyone has different majors, so I'm kind of worried whether you understand or not. But let me start. I am going to present about motivational factors and learning styles in the acquisition of global language and business skills in multicultural education. I wrote this article with my colleague Hazel Wamus, professor, and our majors are business and language, so that's why we could write this article. As an overview, in the context of multicultural business educator, all the educators try to search for continuous improvement in their classroom experiences. And motivation factors, we enforce the learner's potential and learning styles meet the demands of required commitment of business learning excellence. And motivation factors and learning styles are significant interdependent sources of producing a learning outcome. And motivation factors in learning global language and learning styles are interdependent entities that help business major students acquire business and language competencies. The object of the study is to examine the motivational factors and learning styles significant to global language and business skills acquisition of 100 business major students, multicultural in composition. We teach at International Business Management Department. Every course is provided in English, and also our students are from various countries such as Nigeria, United States, China, Myanmar, and also there are Korean students. So our survey, our questionnaire distribute to the students. From the researches, we gathered this analytical frameworks. So we divide three parts. The first one is motivational factors, and second one is learning style, and third one is language acquisition. So let me start with motivation factors. So motivation factors is a key factor to learning, and students are likely to be intrinsically motivated. And the most influential factor is second, language education. And third one is extrinsic motivation among motivation factors. First, second, third one. So third one, extrinsic motivation, comes from the outside of individuals such as rewards, coercion, and punishment. So therefore, through this establishing the framework of motivation, both from the student themselves as well as from the outside, will determine student learning behavior to achieve certain goals. The second analytical framework is learning style. So this one is 4 types of learner. Multiple intelligence by Howard Gardner. There are 4 kinds. The first one is visual learner who learns through sight, and second one is auditory learners who learn subject matter better when reinforced by sound. The third one is kinesthetic learners or tactile learners who learn better through experiencing or doing things. And the last one is reading and writing learners who prefer to learn through written words. So by understanding the student's own process of learning and thinking, it can be more efficient in learning and introduction, especially in a multicultural classroom, like our classroom. The third framework is language acquisition. This one is a vital requirement of language acquisition in a global scale of all the skills that is mandatory in today's business market. It is a strong command of English language, which is also referred to as global or business language. The ability to acquire this global language is a challenge of skill learning that is multifaceted and complex, particularly to non-native speakers. So converting the primary language of non-native speakers to international standard is no small task, as you know, as it calls for adapting the shift and responsibility to comply with the global language framework, policy, and guidelines. So overall, there is an theoretical framework is indicating knowledge that motivational factors and learning styles are influential factors in acquiring and improving global language and business skills in the multicultural education. To generate data, there are 20 questions. So we divide 10 for intrinsic questions and the other 10 are extrinsic factors. And also there are 16 questions of learning style. So the first 20 questions are about motivation factors and second one is about learning styles. And we divide those 16 questions as 4 types of learner, according to Howard Gardner, as I mentioned before, like visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and reading and writing. And also there are supplementary questionnaire beside 2 questions. So, and also supplementary questions are 2 kinds of questions. The first one is language skill in English to assess respondents' strengths in English language skill learning. And the second supplementary question is 6 important business skills from which the respondent was required to rank based on how he or she perceives the skill as the most important skill to learn to this skill. And those are declarative sentences and they were assessed by the respondent's perception in a 5-point scale, namely 5 strongly agree, 4 agree, 3 neither, 2 disagree, 1 strongly disagree. So that is typical questionnaire. Sample population. At the beginning, I explained which department I teach. So our students are about 100 students majoring in international business management, and our department is only provided in English. Content English, so English as medium of instruction. The sample population came from 4 years level, freshmen through seniors. So there are 72 Korean students and 28 international students from various countries. There are 3 kinds of the analytical divide. The first one is motivation factors, and second one is learning styles. Third one is language acquisition. So the first one, the result, motivation factors. So the first highest rate of 55%. There are 2 statements. Number 4 is learning English is important in traveling, which was extrinsic. And number 13 is also the highest rate is learning English will enable me to communicate effectively and accurately with colleagues and guests in business, which was intrinsic, from inside. And second highest rate of 54%, the statement is number 20, is learning English is achieve competitive communication skills in international business. It shows extrinsic. And also there is lowest reflected rate of 10% is number 2. Statement number 2 is learning English will help me answer my exams and homework. And second analytical framework, the result is learning style. The learning styles, the highest rate of 45% is number 1, statement number 1. I look at the teacher's face when teaching. it is a description of visual learner. And second highest rate of 34% is statement number 7. This is I like to solve problems by talking about them with my teachers, which is auditory learners. So international disease mental students are likely to visual and auditory learners. So far, are you okay? It seems it is totally different majors, so I'm kind of a little bit worried. But anyway, let me keep doing it. So this one is from the supplementary questionnaire. So the finding is language skills. Let me show you this one. The finding of respondents' this one is personal assessment of strengths and weakness in the language acquisition. And it shows they learn more from speaking. So we check their personal intention, and most of them are excellent. I mean, students excel the most in speaking skills in language acquisition. This is because it's multicultural composition. So our class are multicultural classroom. So they should speak English to communicate. So that's why speaking skill is the most important for them. However, students assess themselves as poor in speaking English when answering or asking questions to the professor. This is due to double cognitive dynamics of learning the business concept and the global language for expression and interpretation of information. So it's not just to speak English, they should show the content. So that's why students sometimes are struggling because of that. Next one is among the core of business skills. So we gave 6 skills, and the student ranks from 1 to 6. So that is the final. Student perceived that communication skill is the most important skill, and they search to achieve giving premium to the global language of business. And the second most important skill is people-oriented. People-oriented skill that enable them to connect and collaborate effectively with colleagues. So let me go to conclusion. I know it's about 20 minutes. So, as conclusion, in a multicultural education, extrinsic motivation factors such as the reward of being able to travel abroad and communicate with business colleagues in the field of international business market, and illustrated to be the most influential factors for business student pursuit in global language of business acquisition. And second one is they perceived of themselves are visual and auditory learners, and partly kinesthetic, provided that creative activities are related to business knowledge production. And their learning style were reflected in their perceived excellent speaking skills to colleagues. However, there is a struggle with expression and interpretation of information in academic performance inside the classroom. I think this one is due to the shift of language framework, particularly to the non-native speakers. Okay, from the result and finding, The first one, I would like to give some recommendation for the professor who teach language and business. Professors should, this one, the first one, motivation factors. For extrinsic factors such as viewers, professors should highlight other viewers to understand a wide range of benefits such as high rate of career readiness, employability, and competitiveness. And second is being students with visual and auditory learners. Professors should increase the use of visual materials and consultation hours for special mentoring for positive reinforcement of their strength. For the partly kinesthetic learners, professors should prepare creative design to instruction that will allow the students to be exposed in experiential learning. In order to utilize their excellent conversational speaking skills, professors should create activities that enable students to speak and express their minds, to take information and interpret in the context of business framework. Also, for the core skills, writing skills, professors should create a rich learning activity that enhance business writing skills to help improve this area of learning skills. So I gave professor to utilize 3 tips. So I hope you use those tips when you teach in your class. So, thank you for listening. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask it.